We've all done it. You're at the garden center, you see a plant that looks absolutely stunning, and you think, hey, that's the one. You bring it home, you give it the perfect spot, and for a year or two, it's wonderful. And then it begins. The quiet invasion. That beautiful perennial starts acting less like a welcome guest and more like a bully that's taking over the entire playground. This isn't about bad plants. There's really no such thing. It's about the right plant in the right place, or more accurately, the right plant without the right containment. It's one of the biggest mistakes we make, falling for pretty face without reading the fine print on its personality. Today, we're not just listing plants. We're talking about the ones that teach you hard lesson in garden management. These are the plants that will test your patience, your back, and sometimes your will to live. But understanding them is the key to avoiding garden war you can't win. Going to look at why they're so aggressive and how to handle them if you've already made the mistake, or better yet, how to use their power for good. Let's dig in. Kicking things off with a notorious one, variegated goutweed. Honestly, this is probably the poster child for plants you'll regret. You see it in the nursery, and that green and white variegation looks so crisp and clean. It seems like the perfect lush ground cover for a shady spot, and for a season, it is. The problem isn't what you see above ground, it's the sprawling, spaghetti-like network of white, fleshy rhizomes happening just below the surface. They are relentless. Most people don't realize that every single fragment of that root left in the soil will sprout into a new plant. I've seen it push its way up through asphalt driveways. It's that aggressive. The one mistake people make is thinking they can just dig it out. You can't. It will come back angrier than before. You'll often see this in old, neglected gardens forming a dense mat where absolutely nothing else can survive. It literally smothers everything in its path. If you must grow it, and I strongly advise against it, to be in a pot with no drainage holes standing on solid concrete. I'm not even joking. That's the level of containment this garden thub requires. The trumpet vine. The flowers are absolutely spectacular, a magnet for hummingbirds. You see them cascading over a pergola or climbing up a brick wall, and it looks like something out of a Tuscan dream. But this is a classic case of look before you leap. The problem with trumpet vine is twofold. First, the aerial rootlets it uses to climb are incredibly aggressive. They will work their way into mortar, undersiding, and can cause real structural damage. Your house or fences over time, it's not a gentle clinger. Secondly, and this is the real kicker, it sends out underground runners. And I mean it sends them. You can have shoots popping up 20, 30 feet away from the parent plant in the middle of your lawn in your neighbor's prized rose bed. Most people don't realize the root system is as aggressive as the top growth. Trying to control it by just pruning the vine is like trying to stop an iceberg by way at the tip. You're completely missing the bigger problem underground. If you have one, the only way to manage it is ruthless, constant vigilance. Digging up suckers the moment you see them. It's a full-time job. Now for one that really fools people with its pretty face. Chameleon plant. The multicolored, heart-shaped leaves are genuinely beautiful with splashes of cream, pink, and red. It looks so delicate. It is not. This plant is one of the most insidious sprouters you can introduce to a garden. It thrives in moist soil, and its fleshy white rhizomes will travel everywhere, creating a dense, impenetrable mat. The worst part, when you try to pull it out, the stems are incredibly brittle and break off, leaving the roots behind to resprout. And here's little known fact that adds insult to injury. When you crush the leaves, it releases strange diesel fuel or fishy smell. It's not pleasant. I once saw a patch of this completely take over bog garden, choking out beautiful iris and primulas. The owner was at their wits' end. This is a plant I would never, ever recommend putting in the ground. If you love the foliage, treat it like high security prisoner in container with no escape route. Seriously, don't even stand the pot on bare soil as the roots can escape through the drainage holes. It's true garden bully in very pretty disguise. Lily of the Valley. Oh, this one causes arguments. People adore it for its scent and its delicate, bell-shaped flowers. It's the classic, a symbol of spring, and in the right context, like a contained woodland area where it can fight it out with other tough plants, it's fine. But put this in a polite, mixed perennial border, and you've just invited a gang leader to a tea party. The problem is its root system, which forms some mat of pits or rhizomes so dense that other plants compete for water or nutrients. It spreads steadily year after year, and removing it is a nightmare. You think you've got it all, but any tiny piece of root left behind will start a new colony. You'll often see this in old cottage gardens, completely dominating the shady side of a house. Most people don't realize it's also highly toxic if ingested, so it's one to be careful with around pets and small children. My honest opinion, it's beautiful, but its beauty comes with a warning label. If you want the scent without the lifelong commitment of weeding, plant it in a deep, buried container to restrict its spread. Here's one that looks so elegant and well behaved. Gooseneck loosestrife. The graceful arching white flower spikes are beautiful in midsummer, and they move gently in the breeze. It's easy to see appeal. It looks architectural, but don't be fooled by the graceful appearance. This plant has an iron will to conquer the world, or at least your entire garden. It spreads via vigorous, underground rhizomes that can travel a surprising distance before sending up a new shoot. One year you have a tidy clump, the next you have a sprawling colony that's shoulder barging its neighbors out of the way. The one mistake people make is planting it in rich, moist soil, which is exactly what it loves. It's like giving an invading army an all-you-can-eat buffet. It just fuels the invasion. A practical tip: if you've inherited a patch, use a spade to sever the spreading roots around the main clump each spring. It's a chore, but it can help keep it check. Bees do love the flowers, I'll give it that. But there are so many other well-behaved perennials for pollinators that I just can't recommend this one for a small manicured garden. It belongs in a wilder setting where it can roam free without causing chaos. Mint, the one everyone knows, and yet people still get caught out. It can't be that bad, can it? Yes, it can. Every single variety of mint, from spearmint to chocolate mint, has the same life goal: world domination via underground runners. These runners are shallow, fast-moving, and incredibly persistent. They will travel under landscape fabric, under paving stones, and through the root balls of other plants. You plant one tiny sprig for your mojitos, and within 2 seasons you have a mint lawn. The mistake is always the same: thinking you can just pop it in the corner. A herb garden. Never ever do this. I saw a garden where mint had completely overrun a raised bed, strangling rosemary and lavender. The owner had to excavate the entire bed, sift the soil, and start again. It was a huge job. The only, and I mean only, safe way to plant mint is in a pot on a patio, not on soil. Even then, check the drainage holes to make sure no runners are making a bid for freedom. It's the ultimate garden bully, but it's aloe. A fantastic lesson in respecting a plant's nature. Contain it, and it's a wonderful, fragrant herb. Let it loose, and it's a monster. Ostrich fern. This one might surprise you because it's such a stunning architectural plant. Those tall vase-shaped fronds look prehistoric and create incredible texture in a shade garden, and for that they are fantastic. But this is not a clumping fern. Ostrich ferns spread by aggressive underground rhizomes that can run for several feet before sending up a new plant. In a couple of years, that single elegant fern you planted has become a dense, impenetrable thicket. They are perfect for stabilizing a shady slope or for a wild woodland garden where they can spread to their heart's content and outcompete weeds. The problem arises when you plant one in a carefully curated shade border next to delicate hostas or stilbs. The fern will win. Every time. A real-world observation. You'll often see them used in large-scale municipal plantings under bridges or in park settings for this very reason. They are tough, they cover ground quickly, and they choke out everything else. If you want the look without the takeover, you'd have to install a deep root barrier like the kind used for bamboo. Honestly, it's a lot of work for a fern. There are many beautiful, well-behaved clumping ferns to choose from instead. This is creeping jenny or moneywort. You'll see this everywhere in garden centers, usually in the hanging basket section. Its trailing stems of bright chartreuse yellow, coin-shaped leaves are fantastic for spilling over the edge of a pot, and that's exactly where it should stay. The problem is when people see how effective it is as a ground cover in a container and decide to plant it in their garden beds. This is a massive mistake. Creeping jenny roots at every single where the stem touches the soil. This means a single trailing stem can create dozens of new plants as it spreads. It grows incredibly fast, especially in damp soil, and will form a dense mat that smothers out smaller, less vigorous plants. I've seen it completely swamp rock gardens and choke the life out of delicate alpines. It can even become a real problem in lawns. Trying to weed it out is maddening because every tiny piece you miss will reroot and invasion all over again. It is astonishingly resilient. If you want a splash of that lime green color in your garden, use the golden form of Japanese forest grass instead. It gives you the color without the thuggish behavior. Another late season beauty with a dark side, Japanese anemone. When they're in bloom from late summer into autumn, they are absolutely breathtaking. Tall, wiry stems with beautiful, simple flowers in shades of white or pink. They look so graceful dancing in the wind. Pollinators, especially bees, are very fond of them. But underneath that graceful exterior lies a deep, dark secret, a thuggish, running root system. The roots are thick, but also incredible. When you try to dig a piece up to move it or control it, the roots snap, and every single fragment left in the soil will grow into a new plant. This is why it's so hard to get rid of once it's established. One mistake people make is planting it without considering its eventual size and spread. They put a small pot in the middle of a border, and 5 years later, it's popping up 6 feet away amongst their prize peonies. My advice is to get a lot of space. Put it somewhere it can form a large colony without interfering with other plants, like against a back fence or in a dedicated wild bed. It's a beautiful bully, but a bully nonetheless. Ornamental grasses are hugely popular, but you have to choose wisely. This is ribbon grass, and it's one of the worst offenders for aggressive spreading. The green and white striped foliage is very attractive, and it grows quickly, which tempts gardeners looking for a fast solution to fill a space. That's the trap. This grass doesn't form a neat clump. It sends out tough, wiry rhizomes that travel far and wide just under the soil surface. It will pop up in your lawn, adjacent flower beds, and can quickly create a tangled, messy-looking thicket that is incredibly difficult to remove. The rhizomes form such a dense mat that digging them out is a serious workout. You'll often see this planted in tough spots like roadside verges or commercial landscapes because it's virtually indestructible. That should be a red flag. Most people don't realize that the plain green version of this species, reed canary grass, is considered an invasive weed in many areas. The variegated form is just a slightly prettier though. If you want a variegated grass, there are so many better behaved options like many cultivars of miscanthus or calamagrostes. Please leave this one at the garden center. Our final bully is another pretty ground cover that will break your heart, yellow archangel. Specifically, the variegated cultivar Herman's Pride is often sold. The silver marked leaves are very attractive and it produces little yellow flowers in spring. It's often promoted as a great choice for dry shade, and it is little too great. This plant is member of the mint family, which should be your first warning sign. It spreads by surface runners that root down. They touch the soil, forming dense, weed-suppressing mat. The problem is it doesn't know when to stop. It will climb over and through smaller perennials, smothering them completely. I've seen it escape garden beds and start running rampant through adjacent woodlands, which is serious ecological concern. It's incredibly difficult to remove manually because, like creeping Jenny, any little piece of stem left behind will reroot. Honestly, its aggressive nature far outweighs its ornamental value. If you're looking for tough, spreading ground cover for dry shade, consider something like epimedium instead. It spreads, but at manageable, polite pace. It won't try to take over your entire neighborhood. This plant is true garden invader masquerading as helpful ground cover.